and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com, reporting to you live from the Sydney airport by the sounds of it.
I was going to say.
Sorry, can you hear those? I'll shut the window.
Yeah.
There's a 747 taking you off outside Tom's window. But
well, we know that the jet fuel supply hasn't yet been impacted by
Yeah.
the Tom's live reporting on the issue, so that's good.
I'm in the inner west. Depending on what day it is, it's the flight path. George, you know this. You came to visit me once, and you could read the fucking serial number on a plane that flew over us while we were in the line for ice cream.
Where we were standing at Gelato Messina waiting for an ice cream, and there just this plane just screams over the top of us. I was like, "What the fuck?" And Tom's like, "Yeah, that's normal. That's de rigueur
just
for Sydney."
reach up and touch it as it goes past.
Yeah,
and just sort of be like,
you can spot who is a local and who isn't usually around this area because you'll see the people go, "What the fuck?" when a plane starts coming over, and we're like, "No, that's normal."
It felt too close for comfort. Speaking of too close for comfort, this is a news and politics podcast where we talk about Australian and American politics and how the global order is currently disintegrating. And something else that was too close for comfort was Donald Trump's truth this week. You might have heard that the man who doesn't understand the difference between a military incursion and a school excursion, believe it or not, has been not managing his war in Iran very well. And the excursion is turning into a bit of a live-in situation.
Mooching.
It's one of those times where you sleep overnight at the zoo or something.
There's a few project blockers, shall we say. There's a few blockers that have come up. They haven't really had enough whip meetings to really get around and remove those blockers.
Need to get a racy matrix together. Yeah,
correct. Do a risk assessment. I don't reckon there's been no risk assessment.
What's the SWOT analysis? Yeah, probably right.
Need to swap to Kanban. Kanban solves all problems.
Agile.
We just solved the war in Iran in 3 seconds, managing really hard synergy. I'm gonna go get a coffee.
Easy, done, sorted. So there's this Truth Social post that Donald Trump posted this week, which is truly, fully, like, medically insane, as far as I could tell. So I'll just read it. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There'll be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump.
I wonder with the hyphen whether that's been written by AI. Is Donald Trump dead and all his posts are just...
Does any part about this suggests to you that anyone except an insane melting brain geriatric wrote this tweet? The fucking is crazy. Happy Easter. God bless us, everyone. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards.
Well, that's what's nuts. He said all this like before the customary Easter, and like, I don't know, like, you know, world leaders fucking acknowledge different religious holidays all the time, but like, no, the first thing he did on Easter Sunday morning was
at
just
5 a.m.
drop this banger.
Anyway, so there's a guy I've been following.
Taking a shit on the toilet at 5 a.m.
I don't know what he's doing.
Coming out of his pub. He's like, I gotta get this out.
I gotta get this out. This is incredible. The world needs to know. So there's this guy I've been following on Instagram called Epistemic Crisis, who's been sort of talking about what he believes is Trump's frontal lobe dementia that's been sort of, you know, digressing and as his brain has been decomposing over the last 3 or 4 months. So I just wanted to play a quick clip from him. Yeah, it's pretty good. And obviously, the guy's a medical expert in the field of geriatric care and has been working in it for 14 years. So he sort of knows what he's talking about. Yeah. But obviously, it's just a guy on the internet, so like take it with a grain of salt. But this is his interpretation of what's been going on. So here's this guy talking about this tweet, or truth, I should say.
Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. Happy Easter, everybody. This was at 5 o'clock this morning. He hasn't been to sleep because he's sundowning, because he has dementia. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field and 14 years experience working in home health care, treating geriatric patients with dementia who say crazy shit like this all the time. It's another classic example of sundowning and also frontotemporal dementia, where his frontal lobe, the filter of your brain that helps you decide what is appropriate to do or not do, to say or not say, that lobe is shrinking inside of his skull. And this stuff is only going to get worse. His limbic system, or his emotional center in his brain, will be fully in the driver's seat before the end. Top of that, he's also a malignant narcissist who is cognitively incapable of feeling fear, regret, or shame. Like using the F word on Easter Sunday morning. Many of you are asking, does stress speed up the decline of a dementia patient? The answer is yes. He is finally starting to feel the stress of his choices. Team closest to Trump has curated all of the information that actually gets to him, including all the information he thinks he has or thinks he knows about Iran. They have yet to tell him the full truth for probably a year and a half. I say we got 18 days before he leaves the land of the living, or they will be forced to impeach, invoke the 25th, or Article 2, Section 4, this shit show. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yep, I've had it in the calendar for a while now, because since December he's been saying we're in a 4 to 3 month window. He went down to like a 1 to 2 month window, and then towards the end of March he said 26 days, and I calculated from that it's April 23rd was the line up there. It's in my calendar. Trump.
So he's sticking to his own. He's sticking to this Instagram.
The timeline's consistent.
It's consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was getting.
Yeah.
He's not just changing the number every video.
No, he's been counting down. At 18 days from now is April 23rd. I mean, time zone might fuck it up for me, but
I mean, he's talked about a number of other health conditions that Trump obviously has. Like, there were rumors going around that he'd potentially had a stroke previously. That's why he's on such a high dosage of aspirin. You wouldn't give 320 milligrams a day to someone who's just trying to maintain good heart health. You'd maintain a microdose, like 25 or 50 milligrams. You'd only have a level that high if you'd suffered a stroke or you're at high risk of suffering a stroke. And obviously, he is a malignant narcissist. I don't need to be a psychotherapist to diagnose that. I just have eyes and ears. And also like potentially, issues with, we've seen, the weird bruising on his hands and his swollen ankles and everything, which indicates potentially some sort of like renal failure and he's been doing a lot of, he didn't go to the Artemis 2 launch. For example, there'd been a lot of preparations to make sure that Trump was there in person at the Artemis 2 launch for, where they're circling the moon and doing this big sort of like NASA-led space mission. And he canceled at the last minute. He canceled, he was meant to go to 3 Easter services, didn't attend any of those. He's doing everything from the White House, which is obviously set up with medical facilities to, try and save the president if he has some sort of medical event. So either he's just physically not up to the task anymore because he's a man who's clearly falling apart in his late 70s, 80s now at this point.
Needs a holiday, George. Just needs to let JD run the show for a week, 2 weeks.
Well, would
6
that be
months,
better? It'd be less insane. We wouldn't be at war in Iran probably if JD Vance was running the show. So I suppose that's better.
Yeah, this is why we need to combat burnout in all its forms. It sounds like, when you're so burnt out, you start a war.
Yeah.
That feeling when. So yeah, clearly Trump. I don't know if I believe in the timeline of whatever the next month he's going to drop dead, but
I think this guy's just harvesting Instagram clips. Let's be real.
But what the stuff that he talks about in terms of Trump clearly going through some kind of medical situation is pretty accurate, and we've seen it with. There was that meeting, that press conference in the White House the other day where they were talking about, President, you say you're going to turn your attention to Cuba next, and he goes, Cuba. He just Cuba, like my toddler does when I say an interesting word to him, Cuba. And he wanted to play with his model of the B-52 bomber. And I was like, my 2.5-year-old is more emotionally regulated than this guy, right? He was talking on the plane on Air Force One a month or two ago. And some journalist asked him a question he didn't like, and he called her piggy. I really do think there is something new and he's always had no filter. That's what people liked about him, to the extent that the MAGA crowd liked him, is that he tells it how it is. But this is indicates to me a lack of adult brain filter stuff going on here.
The other aspect is up until now, keep in mind, up until now, the MAGA group, all the people around him, they've had control of everything. They do not have control now. They are outside of control, and they can see the MAGA base turning. They can see the stock market crashing. They can see the economy failing.
Yeah.
And people are starting to panic. The people around him would be starting to panic. The amount of information that would be coming to him would be disparate and conflicting, and he would feel the pressure. Now, whether that relates to all the symptoms, whether he's got dementia or whatever. At the end of the day,
his brain
at the end of the day,
something is going on, right?
At the end of the day, he is under pressure, and he's quite clearly feeling it. So,
and some of the insane shit he says, if Biden said a fraction of this level of insane shit, there would have been articles in the New York Times for days about how the president's losing it.
But
he
he's
needs
their
to be fucking replaced.
He's their guy, and they've got to.
Like, he doesn't seem as fragile. He doesn't seem as fragile as Joe Biden did, and I think that's why they're like, well, he's speaking, clearly and robustly, and so therefore he must be fine. Whereas Biden was like, we defeated Medicare, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's clearly lost the plot.
Yeah,
but it's not displaying in the same way, but I think it's more or less the same sort of thing playing out, right? Like, you're not supposed to be leading the world in your 80s. You're just simply not supposed to.
He's an old man under fuckloads of pressure, and he's not coping with it. Whether it's health related or not.
And how he's always gotten himself out of stressful pressure situations is like I can hardball anybody.
Just
it's the art of the deal shit.
It's not working.
And you can't do that when you have no effectively no power over, or what power you think you have over your opponent, because they're all like, we're controlling Iranian skies, we've got everything locked down. No, don't look at the fact that several of our F-35s got shot down. No, we have complete control over Iranian skies. They have no capability anymore. Quick, rescue them. All that sort of stuff. It doesn't work anymore. So he's just going. What do you mean I can't just say open the fucking strait and it happens? It's not happening.
He's finally found something that he can't just talk his way out of, and he doesn't know how to react. You
can't bullshit people out of not seeing their own material reality, right? You can bullshit people, say this is the most incredible economy ever. This is the most incredible, but people see the price of the petrol pump, they see the price of at the supermarket, they see their wallet, they see the economy, they see
feeling poor as hell. They are feeling it.
Things are worse now than they have been in recent memory, not since maybe the global financial crisis. And they know who's in power, and they know who holds all the levers of power. You can't just bullshit your way out of this anymore. At a certain point, people's material reality starts to bite. And we're seeing that now really playing out as insiders, and the market is starting to lose. It was interesting. I remember hearing a lot of talk on Bloomberg talking about this, where they're going, but why isn't oil at $200 a barrel? Why is it only at $100, $115 a barrel? Considering the supply shock that we know is coming, you think it would be much worse. The markets seem to believe this Trump always chickens out, it's going to be over, he'll pull out, everything will go back to normal. And the markets are now still slowly starting to realize that, no, this is going to be cooked. And as more and more reporting comes out about critical oil infrastructure in the Gulf that's been destroyed, and they realize that even if the war stops tomorrow, we're going to see effects for this for months, if not years, on the global economy. You can't just destroy the demand for 10 million barrels of oil daily, every day, without there being consequences. People are talking about this as a supply shock bigger than COVID. Not since the global financial crisis have we seen a shock to the economy of this size. And you're going to see that playing out. And now, finally, the markets are starting to realize that, that probably is the case, right?
Not before they make a buck out of it. So,
some people are making a buck out of it. So there's been a lot of speculation that members, either Trump himself or members within Trump's cabinet, are actually positioning themselves to make trades that they are benefiting from based on the announcements that they know are coming out, right? Yeah. So, for example,
the Trump family is the other one as well.
Who knows? Yeah, someone closely associated with Trump are both making, bets on oil futures and things like that. So, this was Last week, 6:49 a.m. Monday, New York time, a huge volume of oil futures contracts were pushed through the market. All right, 6:49 a.m. By 6:50 a.m., about $580 million US worth of contracts covering Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate changed hands, sending prices into free fall, dropping from just under $100 a barrel to US $89 a barrel. So this is well in excess of normal trading volumes, right, over this time. So much so that it actually lowered the price of Brent crude, right, by over 10%. Minutes later, Donald Trump announced via his own social network, Truth Social, very good and productive conversations with Tehran over a complete and total resolution to hostilities. Hours later, Tehran refuted the claims and oil prices began climbing again, sparking calls for an investigation into the trading. There's that. There's also instances of bets being placed on Kalshi and Polymarket, which are prediction markets, where, again, 15 minutes before a thing happens, Trump announces something, someone puts, tens of millions of dollars worth of trades into a particular bet and then makes off with tens of millions of dollars as a result. Like this, you can go through the fucking blockchain on Kalshi and see, here are the trading volumes, 5-10x what's happening, gets placed on a bet, and then president announces something and it goes back down to normal levels again. People closely associated with the Trump campaign or with the Trump administration or Trump himself are making millions and millions of dollars based on what Trump is about to say, what Trump is about to announce with regard to this Iran conflict. Like, it is not just insider trading. It is grand theft auto style wholesale corruption, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, it's all done through, shelf companies and crypto,
So we know it's the same person that placed a bunch of consecutive bets that like 95% of them won or something like some absurd ratio. Better trading record than Nancy Pelosi, right, in terms of how well all of these bets pay off. But we don't know who the person is, right? So we can tell it's the same crypto wallet or whatever, but you don't know who it is, right? So there's no case for really tracing it back to them or prosecuting them for any of this because Trump's Justice Department wouldn't allow it anyway. But like, the idea that we've just got like systematized, essentially legal corruption now, and that these betting markets, Polymarket and Kalshi, more or less encourage insider trading because it like gives the market more accurate data from which to make predictions, right? Like that's kind of their whole ethos is like, we want insider trading because that, the wisdom of crowds means that it like adjusts the ratios to be more mathematically accurate, right?
Can the fact, like, I don't know shit about fuck, but the fact that we know it's the same crypto wallet, like you can identify that it's the same person, or like
if you trace it to a person,
at least, yeah. But can like the rest of, say, people on Polymarket or whatever do that? Like, can you then be basing your trades on the fact, like, hey, that account that seems to always know what the fuck's going on is doing stuff. I will do the same thing.
Yeah, potentially. So, I mean,
like, can you do that in a real enough time for it to matter?
So, so that's the key, is that it's the lag time. So I know that, for example, there is an Instagram account that I followed for a while, which basically was documenting share trades from like Nancy Pelosi and other members of Congress, and basically saying, oh, look how they outperformed the market by 200%. Basically, you can mirror these trades. So you can set up, we'll get bots to scrape the information and then just get you to, populate the trades as soon as possible. The problem is the lead time. The time between disclosure and when the trade actually goes through is like quite substantial. And by the time you, the public, get the information. But there have been entire automated trading portfolios set up online to mirror this exact kind of trading for that purpose, right?
Various apps, give you that ability to trade on the share market. And then you could also build your own app with like Claude or something that would, as George said, mirror
it's not hard to do.
These kind of bets that might be happening, or for instance, but whether or not you can get in, if it's 6:49 and the thing happens at 6:50, like it's a very short window. So despite all that, and the world economy really starting to wobble now, is what's been described, and we're talking about a recession here in Australia at this point as being sort of likely. Some economists for the big four banks are coming out and saying, like,
the Dow's well below pedophilia levels now, so
we're going to have a recession.
We've got to watch out.
Interesting thing that, like, for Iran, like, despite the fact they've had a fairly heavy, they've suffered a lot of military losses, but at the end of the day, they're still functioning, and they still control the strait. And one of the new tactics that they're apparently using is basically creating like a sort of Strait of Hormuz toll. There's a sort of a claim here. I think, George, you're probably a bit more familiar with this article, but basically someone paid, I think, about US $2 million for a tanker to go through in Chinese yuan, traded in that currency, for a tanker to go through.
So
that sounds to me like what is it? The free hand of the market? It's I mean, okay, like we control this spot. You want to come on
capitalism, baby?
You got to pay the toll.
Adam Smith would be pleased, I guess.
A toll is a toll, and a roll is a roll. And if we don't pay no tolls, we don't get no rolls. it's a Men in Tights logic.
I think you could definitely make the argument at this point that the Iranians are winning this conflict. To the extent that an inferior military power to the US, can win a conflict like this, they're winning. So you've got Khomeini replaced with more extreme Khomeini. You know, you've got who's backed by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So you've now put the most extreme element of the Iranian armed power base in charge, essentially, you know, sort of taken power away from the clerics and brought it basically just to the, you know, military extremists in the IRGC. And America, in order to try and undo some of the consequences of the war that they started, has released Iranian oil from sanctions. And the last report I saw on this was that this allowed an extra $12 billion US to flow into the Iranian economy as a result, because, obviously their oil is no longer sanctioned and can be sold freely on the market. And that obviously helps to address some of the supply crisis, but is now giving billions and billions of dollars on a regular basis to the regime that you're trying to stop and choke off. I mean, after the JCPOA, the Iran deal, as it was called back in the day under Obama, the Obama administration released assets, I think it was around $400 million US worth of frozen Iranian assets back to the Iranians as part of that deal. If you play ball, if you allow, you know, nuclear inspections, we'll unfreeze these assets and you get that money back. And Ben Rhodes, who was, you know, chief on, you know, one of the head people working on that deal in the Obama administration, said he still to this day cops a never-ending torrent of shit whenever he talks about Iran, from people saying, well, you gave $400 million to state sponsors of terror and this is all on you and blah, 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 blah. Trump has given 25 times that amount of money in the course of the last couple of weeks to the Iranians. No one's saying shit about that. But, you know, like the Iran deal was the worst deal ever, all this sort of stuff. Now, they're also talking about essentially establishing a toll booth on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that would not be
kind of what they're doing in
illegal
practice.
per se. Like, international law would expressly forbid the use of this, you know, threatening free shipping lanes and all this sort of stuff. But, like, who's going to enforce it? You know, like, not me, not you, not the Americans. The Americans sound like they're wanting to walk away from this whole fucking fiasco altogether. So what this essentially means is that this could raise billions and billions of dollars per year for the Iranian national.
Yeah, it depends. Sorry, keep going.
Well, if it returns to the same kind of flow that it was before all this kicked off, like,
well, I don't think it will, because they've let like 24 tankers through in March, as opposed to the normal 600 that would go through, and those 24 tankers have only been from friendly countries. This particular case that we're talking about, this toll, was also from a friendly country. So
right, but if you are going back to 600 ships a month, which is what it was in February.
But my point being is they're not going to do that. Like,
but if the rule is, we'll let you pass, but you got to give us $2 million, 600 ships a month times 12 months of the year, you're starting to talk about billions of dollars a year.
Billions of dollars, yeah.
Billions of dollars that the Iranian regime is now collecting from the international community in the form of this levy. And what this does is it threatens the whole idea that we have of this globalized economy where, you know, we have free shipping. This is what the whole like potential conflict about the South China Sea is all about, is making sure that there's free shipping lanes and freedom of navigation and all this sort of stuff. It threatens that because if every country can go, well, I've got like a canal that a lot of people use. I've got a a waterway that kind of a lot of trade goes through. Well, maybe you got to pay daddy a little bit of money before that money, before those goods and services comes through. What you're going to get is, you know, layers of toll booths and taxes and extra costs on everything that goes anywhere in the global economy, right? So it establishes a precedent that's really quite dangerous. And something that I haven't seen talked about as a result of this article was that one ship that's documented in this article paid the US $2 million US in Chinese yuan, right?
Yeah.
Yuan. That indicates to me that we're seeing such a fracture in US hegemony, in the US power base, that we actually might start to encounter the problem of de-dollarization, where the US is no longer or not as much the global reserve currency. People are going to start buying and paying for things in Chinese dollars, which really puts the US in an extremely dangerous position because they've been able to borrow infinite money, right? Trillions and trillions of dollars, because they're the ones that make the money. If everyone wants to trade in US dollars and you're the one who prints US dollars, you kind of control the global money supply to a certain degree. And there have been efforts via BRICS and other, you know, sort of non-formal
multilateral
organizations to try and get away from the, you know, trading everything everywhere on the US dollar, because
it's already happening.
It disadvantages some countries. I think we're starting to see, it's been talked about for a long time, but like you're starting to see the Sell America trade really playing out now, where people are going, I don't want US bonds. Before it would be the US stock market goes down, everyone freaks out and they rush into bonds. Okay, we saw an auction this week where the demand for US bonds, despite all of this instability and massive losses in the stock market, over 10%, right, which is a correction technically, despite the massive volatility in the US stock market, you're not seeing a corresponding increase in the amount of US bonds that people are buying, because US bonds are the safest thing. Buy US government debt, it's always the safest thing. It's the sure thing. When times are weird and tough and volatile, you can always count on the US. That's the thought. And the amount of interest that the US needs to now pay on those bonds is increasing, despite the fact that their stock market is tanking. So what that suggests,
straight up to the rate up to therefore make it more
to attract more buyers, right? You can people still want to buy US government debt, but not as much. And what that means is the cost for the US servicing all of this debt increases. It gets more expensive for them to service this whatever $39 trillion worth of debt that they already have. Means that they're less likely to get the money in that they need to pay for, you know, whatever it is, critical infrastructure, their, you know, ludicrous wars of choice, illegal wars of choice overseas. Like, given that the US government, the United States is largely a debt-based entity at this point, if the cost of financing the capital for that goes up substantially, as it seems to be doing, you're going to have a real financial crisis in the United States, and that's going to have spillover effects to other areas of the world if this continues, right? US government debt has always been AAA, you know, the safest possible thing that you can put your money in. If people are now buying and trading and doing stuff in Chinese dollars, that really weakens the US position.
There's a whole shadow economy that's been doing that for years now, since Ukraine.
But what happens, Adam, when that shadow economy just becomes the economy?
The economy, yeah.
But like, I guess my point being is that it's not, keep in mind there, and what this has also done, the fracturing of US hegemony, if you want to call it that, has pushed, as you said, countries, the BRICS organization together, but like particularly Russia and China are supporting Iran.
Yeah, with telemetry data,
just like
and satellites
Iran and China
all this sort
have
of
been
stuff,
supporting Russia in their war in Ukraine. So you're going to have, just like prior to World War One, factional power blocks and informal and in some cases formal alliances forming, or have formed. So
it's now becoming the West versus the rest, and to the extent that China and Russia allow themselves to get drawn into this conflict, as it seems like they're allowing themselves to do by providing support and material and,
Well, I
and
mean,
information.
for them, it's a
Like-
quick win, right?
They weaken
just-
the US and it costs
yeah.
them nothing, and Russia's position in Ukraine improves. But there's like always good material circumstances, reasons for like getting into a world war initially, you know, before it descends into something that
To
no
chaos.
one can really controls, right?
Yeah.
Just to
But
give a
don't worry.
sense of the timeline about all of this, like I just want to talk through some of Trump's statements leading, you know, this article, one of these articles, you know, about the toll booth in Iran has a great little timeline in it, which I just want to give you a sense of like how, like the internal logic of his positioning shifts not just now from day to day, but also like intra-conversationally. Like within one conversation, he's saying things that oppose things that he has said earlier in the conversation, right? So Sunday, March 22nd, Trump issues a 48-hour deadline for Iran to reopen the strait, threatening to obliterate Iranian power plants if it does not comply. 23rd, March 23rd, Trump strikes on Iran are postponed for 5 days. Trump says there are productive talks with Iran about ending the war. Iran says it received messages through friendly countries about a request for talks, but it denies any negotiations are taking place. So that's what we've assumed, is that there's back channeling going on, right? But there's no actual direct talks between the two countries.
Well, Steve Witkoff apparently has also just been messaging the foreign minister, and the foreign minister's like, that doesn't count.
Yeah. Yeah, just because you send someone a WhatsApp being like, hey, you up? March 24th, ceasefire plan. Pakistan delivers a 15-point ceasefire plan to Iran. President Donald Trump says the US is in negotiations right now for a peace deal. And also, the US deploys more troops to the region, right? 25th of March, deal rejected. The foreign minister of Iran says his team received a copy but dismisses the proposal. Iranian military spokesman says there are no peace talks taking place. Iran puts forward their own 5-point plan to end the fighting, which, you know, includes toll booths and reparations for everything that's been destroyed, and just like a completely, like both sets of conditions, both from the Americans and Iranians, are just untenable for the other side. So mediators are passing message back and forth. March 26th, Trump says Iran is desperate to make a ceasefire deal. Trump again extends the deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, this time to April 6th, date of recording today. 29th, troops arrive. Iran's parliament speaker warns US against ground invasion as 2,500 Marines arrive in the Middle East. Mohammed Baghdad Kalibaf threatens to set the American troops on fire and steps up attacks on US allies. 29th, regional leaders meet. Foreign ministers from Pakistan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey meet in Pakistan to complain about Trump, one can only imagine. The 30th of March, threat renewed. Foreign ministry spokesperson from Iran says the meeting is commendable, but Iran is not involved. He describes Trump's 15-point peace plan as unrealistic. Trump says America will blow up Karg Island and obliterate oil and energy sites if Iran refuses to make a deal. Deadline is still April 6th. March 31st, Trump says US will leave Iran within 2 to 3 weeks, even if no ceasefire deal has been reached. He says if other countries want oil or gas, they'll have to, quote, go right up to the Hormuz Strait and they'll be able to fend for themselves. He reiterates both points in a primetime address on Wednesday, April 1st. April 5th, Trump pushes the deadline back again by 1 day to Tuesday, April 7th. He threatens to blow up power plants and bridges in a post on Truth Social, which we just looked at. Iran accuses the United Nations of remaining silent in the face of Trump's warmongering. So that's where we're at now. We're literally at the point where he's threatening to commit war crimes, break critical infrastructure, but also saying we're going to get out of there in 2 to 3 weeks, but also saying if you want the oil, you got to go and get it, but also we don't need the oil, so like why are we doing this? Like it has been all over the map within the space of 7-10 days that we looked at there in terms of what his objectives are, what he's trying to do, how he's handling it.
It's called panic. It's called panic. George.
Panic.
Like
it's panic.
Yeah.
It's panic. He's not, as I said at the start, this is a guy who's under a lot of pressure and he doesn't know what to do because his usual tactics are not working. And the people around him are giving him various bits of information and he's probably fucking unhealthy and tired as well.
Yeah. Oh, well,
So-
his lead war guy
an-
is Pete Hegseth, a fucking
his lead-
moron.
Who has also been
Fucking
completely
loser.
inconsistent with
Yeah.
his calls as well. They fired, the other thing we haven't mentioned here, the US Hegseth just fired a number
Military
like,
generals, yeah.
of including the chief of the army. So what does that mean? Why do they fire? They're in the middle of a conflict and they're firing generals.
So apparently it was about him reaching down and denying promotions to 1-star generals. So that's how like crazy and paranoid this regime, the Trump regime, has become, is that they're trying to affect the promotions of 1-star generals. You imagine? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4-star generals. How many layers down do you need to go to start futzing with, you know, the promotion of 1-star generals? It's like, dude, you're in a war. You do not have time to be messing around with this. And apparently that was what precipitated this conflict with the 4-star general and why he was asked to resign, right? And apparently it's like for anti-DI reasons, like he doesn't want black people or women. Or, you're in the middle of a war, dude. Now's not the time to be firing generals, right? So
Anyway,
if that fee that we
crazy.
talked about, that toll booth fee, applies to all commercial vessels, not just oil tankers, it would produce an extra $50 billion in annual revenue for the IRGC, according to analysts at the research firm Gavcal. It would also double its revenue from oil sales. So not only has this not weakened the Iranian regime, not only do they now know that they can close the Strait of Hormuz and do whatever they want with it, and no one can really challenge that, they can now also open up new revenue lines from any trade that passes through the strait to their own benefit, potentially, right? If that's the cost,
they're assuming
if that's the cost to reopen the strait,
I would suggest that they would probably do that for a limited number of vessels. And the fact is, a lot of people are probably just either they're not going to be, again, they're not going to have the balls, the insurance, the coverage, whatever, to actually make that transit, even with the fee and the guarantee of safety. So this concept that would go back to, I think what's just going to happen is you're going to have a prolonged period of limited supply, because what this does as well is it allows the Iranians to turn the tap on and off, right? So it's not so much about, like, you know, it'll go through, everything will return to normal, but it'll be more expensive. It's going to be, well, it's going to be, they're going to have the power to flex this whenever they want.
which they assumed they had, but they didn't know that they had because they'd never done
In
it before.
practice,
Now that they know that we can do this whenever we want, actually, and it's been fine for us. It's the rest of the global economy that's been suffering.
Yeah.
Right. They know they can do this now, and they can operationalize it whenever they want. So we're living in a world that is now increasingly dangerous and less safe. And we, the West, are now in a worse situation. Like, the effort from Trump, to the extent there has been any effort in this regard, has been to undo the consequences of his invasion, to just return us to February of 2026, right? Like, the US and the world global economy is now in a worse position, and Iran is now in a stronger position for them having done what they've done. The Ayatollah was 86. Like, Father Time was going to regime change him very soon anyway. You know what I mean? He was the one who was apparently very against the idea of Iran having a nuclear weapon in the first place. So
they had a like a fatwa, like a religious decree to not actually
against
have
it
a weapon. So it was interesting. The MAGA vets are getting upset now, and it's interesting listening to some of their analysis on it, or at least in terms of them getting people that were involved in some of the discussions like 6 months ago onto their podcasts and being like, we've got the inside scoop. Sean Ryan is one that I listen to occasionally. And it was interesting because, like, the way the person on this podcast was framing it was that, like, well,
this is Joe that you were talking, that he was interviewing.
I can't remember the interviewer, but he was involved in some of these discussions.
There's a former national security guy who resigned, but obviously not an unproblematic guy, very anti-Semitic and all this sort of stuff. Has his own
correct
bugbears with Israel to begin with, right?
Yeah, correct.
Blames Israel for killing his wife when she was working in Syria and all this sort of stuff, right?
You take everything they say with a grain of salt, but it's just interesting hearing the logic and the way they like sort of unpacking. It's like, oh, this is really bad. It's like,
guys, I think this might have been a bad idea.
They're like,
Joe Rogan went nuts.
Just really unhappy with this. Like, this isn't what we voted for, and and like Theo Von was on the show, and he's like, well, we're like, we did this sort of thing. we elevated him to power. Like, this is we kind of, it's our fault as well.
Oops.
Right? Oopsie poopsie.
but yeah, this concept that what the Iranians were originally doing was they were sort of, the strategy was, we're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That'd be too much. We can't not have any enrichment because that would be too weak. But we're
You need the threat. You need the sword of
we're going to have
Damocles
this concept
dangling.
of,
Or we might,
like,
we
we're
might
going to have
not.
a little bit of enrichment, which is sort of like enough to sort of be a deterrent, but not enough to be a threat, so to speak. And now, as we've talked about on this podcast a few times, well, just get a weapon. Like at this point, right? Like
It makes sense for them
several
to
weapons.
develop a nuclear weapon because why wouldn't you at this stage? It's the only thing that
almost.
would be an effective deterrent, right?
Well, almost they don't have to if they can do the tap on and off here. Like, oh great, well we have this as our deterrent. Then you start fucking with us, we
Well,
start turning off the tap
And
again.
yes,
the thing
and
is,
it's an
Israel-
improv game, Tom. Yes, and
Yeah.
Israel. This is the thing: is even if the US pulls out, Israel still want to see Iran wiped off the face of the earth. So they're not going away. Israel isn't going away as an existential threat to Iran. So if Iran has a nuke, and they can lob
and
that or
Israel
set it
has
off,
nukes, which they are reported to have.
Well, either way, but the threat of having a nuclear weapon set off within Israel would be something that the Israelis would reconstitute the current strategy of Israel, which is to go hard against any either Iran itself or Iranian proxies, which is what they're currently doing. We haven't even talked about the fact that Israel's just seizing southern Lebanon.
Yeah,
for
just
fun, anyway.
an ethnic
Just-
cleansing in southern Lebanon, 1 million people displaced.
Yep.
You know, like whatever.
And they're
That's
not
like,
saying it's temporary. They're saying we're just going to keep it.
we're just going to keep it.
Yeah.
We'll have it as a little no man's land between us and
There'll
the
be
Lebanese.
settlements there.
There'll be settlements
5 years.
there. This is what
Oh,
they do. This is what we've seen in the West Bank. This is what we've seen, you know, in Gaza. This is what they do, right? Like
You can
it's
see
constant
you can see on the
encroachment.
map, like it's like the current map of Israel, like it goes up and it goes down like a little sort of pen, and then it comes back towards the coast. So what they're doing is they're just equalizing it so it becomes a rectangle. Like,
They've spoken
yeah.
about this as an explicit strategy is to break up Gaza in order to move the people off the land so they can establish a greater Israel, right? Like this is not like a secret, you know, anti-Jewish conspiracy theory brain stuff that we're talking about
it's
here. Like
been
senior
for
members
years.
of the government have spoken openly about this. This is
But
the
the point-
purpose of the settlements, right?
not to get too off track, but yeah, the point being is that even if the US pulls out, that is still a thing that Iran has to think about. Now, don't worry, we have to move on, but don't worry, the world economy is going to be saved because Trump has instituted 100% tariffs on some pharmaceuticals, even though
Adam,
he's not allowed to.
Sorry. Pam Bondi got fired.
Well, I was just saying it's related to the economy, so maybe we'll do that first and then you come back to Pam Bondi.
The
but,
Attorney
like,
General being unceremoniously shit-canned in any
No,
other
no.
universe would be story
She
one.
is-
And you want to go to
she is-
pharmaceuticals first before
Well, I'm just saying
Pam Bondi.
this is the kind of economic reaction. They're like, "Well, we're losing money, so we need to make more tariffs to get more money." And it's like, "Well, that's not going to
Yeah,
work.
you
That's
gotta
illegal."
gotta get that money back up to pedophile numbers. Gotta yep.
Number
Gotta get that
must go
down.
up.
Yeah, these two things happened, and these two things would be story number 1, but they are story number 5 and 6. So
Respectively, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So Donald Trump has fired U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. The president said in a post on Truth Social that Miss Bondi was leaving the government and, quote, transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector. Let me be clear.
Transitioning.
Transitioning.
Oh
my God.
Exploded.
Trans for everyone. Transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector. So clarifying, yeah, she's being booted out of the government entirely.
Yeah.
She's Pam Bondi is a great American patriot and loyal friend who faithfully served as my attorney general over the past year. Pam did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country, with murders plummeting to their lowest level since 1900. We love Pam.
Citation needed.
Yeah, citation needed, says Wikipedia. We love Pam, and she will be transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector to be announced at a date in the near future once she has secured it. And our Deputy Attorney General and very talented and respected legal mind, Todd Blanche, will step in to serve as acting Attorney General. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
Just he further slurs his words in your impression of him as that post goes on.
As judges of the
yeah.
Supreme, I was with Pam earlier this week at the Supreme Court. which is pretty weird because like presidents don't go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so he was clearly very pissed about that. Because if I remember correctly, the case that he was sitting in on was about them trying to remove like birthright citizenship from
Yeah, correct.
the children
Correct.
of illegal immigrants.
Well, the children
Yeah,
of
and-
anyone, I guess, who isn't a naturalized American citizen when they
Yeah.
give birth. Like 30 countries around the globe have birthright citizenship, which is when you're born in a country, you get citizenship of that country because, like,
Yeah.
otherwise you might be stateless,
And
right?
and
So
they've been trying. Yeah. So one of the big things is them trying to remove that, which is fucked. And they had their arguments.
and
to the-
unconstitutional, like
Yes.
explicitly unconstitutional.
Explicitly unconstitutional. The Constitution, explicitly says the opposite.
Very clear on this
yeah.
matter, and the Supreme Court has ruled on cases like this before, saying that birthright citizenship is not optional, right? So
Yeah, and they essentially rejected their arguments in that case. So I believe Trump stormed out of.
he was in there for an hour, which I'm
An
surprised
hour.
he could even muster his melting brains attention for a full
Yeah.
hour. Stood up and then walked out.
Walked out when it wasn't going well.
And between that and the Epstein files, obviously he's very not impressed with Pam Bondi, even though she's been, I would describe her as being obsequious in her covering and going to bat for Trump during all of this Epstein
yeah.
nonsense, right? So
Well, this is just a way of, I think, it's not so much. I suspect it's like when we eventually circle back to Epstein, it'll just be her as a scapegoat to some extent, right?
of the
Like,
handling of the files and
correct.
stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm surprised it's taken this long for this is the second cabinet secretary. To
yeah,
be
Christy Noem in
dismissed?
March was the last, was the
Yeah.
first
Or the
one
third.
of this term.
Was it the third one, maybe? I think maybe it was another one.
I don't think so.
Second or third.
First,
Anyway.
first high profile one that I've been
Yeah.
aware of, right?
I'm surprised it's taken this long for this many sort of.
Well, we saw it in the first term, right? That there
Oh, it
were,
was a
you know,
rotating carousel of
rotating.
bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
the measured in Scaramucci's.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
How many
Yeah.
Scaramucci's is this taking? But it's been fairly stable, which is interesting. I guess they were more prepared for this term of government.
I think they were just more obsequious. They sucked up to him more. They were more
And-
self-flagellating, in those cabinet
Yeah.
meetings where they go around the table and say, "Now you give me a compliment. Now you give me a compliment. Oh, Mr. President, you got the biggest dick anyone's ever seen. It's incredible, Mr. President. You're the best president that's ever lived." And he goes,
Why is-
"Great. Now,
Why
Pam,
is
you
Richard Nixon at this point?
I'm not a crook." And then they think, "Pam, you got any compliments for me?" And she goes, "This is the best president that the president's ever presidented." And he goes, "Hey, great, Marco, you got a compliment for me?"
South Park had a good episode about Pam Bondi, and it was like, so Pam would just speak in a meeting or whatever, and then someone would turn around and be like, "Pam, you got a little shit on your nose. You just need a little bit of shit. You just need to." She'd wipe it off, and then it'd like cut back, and it's like an even bigger bit of shit. It's just like
Excellent.
anyway.
Brown
And
nose,
there's a whole,
yeah.
the other thing in that episode, just to cut, just like you should watch South Park, is like there's this like ghost that keeps appearing in the White House. It's just Melania in a hat. it's just like,
Just
they're
like
who
as
is
a
this-
Haunting the
lamp.
who
residence.
is this strange woman? Anyway,
Well, the acting attorney general now is, as mentioned just before there, Todd Blanche, who, as I understand it, is Trump's former personal attorney.
Yeah,
So-
correct. Former defense lawyer. Yeah, Todd Blanche
Yeah.
now has the cursed chalice from which he must drink. It's so funny because like the things that he's angry at her for are not even her fault. It's just like the structure of the U.S. justice system that like if you put up cases against your political enemies incorrectly and with no evidence, they will get struck down by judges because
Yep.
the courts are still vaguely operational, right? So it's like Todd Blanche is going to face the exact same fucking issues that Pam Bondi faced. It's no different, right? So
Oh, yeah.
another carousel. The next person on the carousel will step up when the time is right.
and Matt Gaetz is going, "Oh, I could have done the job for a year. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I could have done this for a year."
Never say never. He might come back.
He might be back. Once he's burned through 3 or 4 of these, he'll start really scraping the barrel. And this is after there's that famous video of Pam Bondi circulating from 2014, which she goes, "I will bring child sexual predators to justice." And everyone's like
Put them
comparing
in
that
prison
to
where they belong.
where they belong. And then, sort of comparing that to her statements defending Trump, who's clearly either an alleged pedophile or is covering for a lot of his mates who are pedophiles as part of these Epstein files. It's like, yeah, man, it's how the mighty have fallen. Yeah, not a good look.
Oh, speaking of I know Adam wants to jump to talk about
Please move. Yeah, we need to go.
Pharmaceutical tariffs, but I don't think we even threw it in here. Speaking of Kristi Noem, about her husband recently, if you guys saw this, that it came out that he has been engaging in some particularly kinky fetish stuff, like appearing
cross-dressing with sex workers and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, which like don't want to yuck his yum at all. Like you do you, friend. But I think it's just another fantastic example of just how all these people have such strange, weird, like inner lives while trying to like ruin all these minorities and like queer culture and like all this DEI bullshit when they're all engaging in their own little sordid out there fantasies. Like
we know this is documented from Grindr. You know, whenever CPAC is in town, fucking Grindr usage goes through the roof, right? Like there's all these horny, fucking pent up, bottled up Christian nationalist Republicans looking to get their dick sucked by a cute little twink, like during these fucking, conservative political action committee meetings. Like they're a bunch of fucking hypocrites. It doesn't, I really do think the people that are the most anti-gay, the people that are most virulently, violent, like Lindsey Graham. I mean, there have long been rumors about Lindsey Graham, sort of hooking up with male sex workers and all this sort of stuff. Like that is not new, right? But it's this Christian nationalist kind of repression where it's like I just got to bottle it up deep inside, and then I can channel that energy into bombing Iran or something. It's like no, it comes out. You can just it's okay to suck. It's 2026 in the year of our Lord. You can just suck a dick if you want to, man. Like no one's gonna judge you for that. Like you can just be you.
Yeah.
But they would rather like tank the global economy and send us into World War III than like, touch that, throbbing hard dick that's next to the bathroom stall. Like it's just they're such fucking weirdos, man. Honestly.
Well, I just wonder. I don't know. Maybe watch this space of Pam Bondi's husband. Maybe something else crazy will come out in the next few days if there's a trend.
I don't know, man. It's like honestly the least objectionable part of anyone affiliated with the Trump regime is that they engage in consensual kinky activity. Like that's like you do you, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe they had an open marriage. I know, and that's something, and that's why she was fucking Corey Lewandowski, or who knows. But like, God, the whole thing is just a like embarrassing mess for everyone involved, right? Like,
don't worry, more tariffs.
More tariffs. That'll fix it.
Tariff on patented drugs manufactured outside the US, 100%. But we're being reduced to 20% for companies that move to operations to the US. I don't know how to legally.
We agree that the tariffs were unconstitutional. Like, didn't the Supreme Court rule on this pretty comprehensively and just kind of strike that down as not a thing anymore?
Are they just not actually know how they're
doing it.
They're using a different mechanism apparently. So the legal mechanism that they used for the individual like country tariffs is explicitly not legal, but sector-wide tariffs in particular cases under different legislation might be still. So that's what he's doing.
This is a national security tariff, is what they're calling these ones. Is apparently
some other fake justification, right?
Yeah. So arguing that domestic pharmaceutical production is necessary to ensure secure supply of vital medicines in times of global conflict. So that's national security to encourage.
Start a war. Say that there's an emergency because of the global conflict, and then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Flawless legal system. The American justice system is one of the most comprehensive free market networks of just an incredibly flawless system.
The so it will affect Australia up to a few $1 billion here or there. There are manufacturers like CSL that
Australian stock market darling CSL, right? That's responsible for hundreds or thousands of jobs here in Victoria is now under threat as a result, right?
Yeah, well, I know the UK has secured a deal that they avoid the tariff completely. So I don't know. Maybe maybe our fearless leader Albo can just
Well, the thing
strike a
is,
deal.
CSL has invested $1.5 billion into manufacturing in the United States because of all this on and off fuckery with the tariffs to date. So I don't know why they're talking about how the pharmaceutical benefits scheme here in Australia is a scam because it enables the Australian government to negotiate as a whole with drug companies for the drugs that we purchase, which is like a system that makes sense and enables us to pay sensible money for drugs as opposed to the US where you pay insensible money for drugs. Like as demonstrated on last week's episode of The Pit, where they're like, oh, can't you just get a Symbicort inhaler to stop this kid from having asthma attacks and going to the emergency room? And the woman's like, yeah, we're not on Medicaid, so I have to buy it out of pocket, and it's $450 for the month, so I can't. And I was like, yeah, the American system makes no sense. The American government should just have a pharmaceutical benefits scheme where they can negotiate as a country for the cost of drugs like other sensible countries. Don't blame us saying, oh, we're subsidizing Australia's drugs. It's like, no, we're doing the normal good thing as a country for our citizens. You could also do this thing. Not only would it cost you money, it would cost you as a country less money to do it this way because you're rather than every individual insurance company negotiating their own rates, you can negotiate as a country, as a cohort of 360 million people and say you can only sell drugs in the US, your most important market, if you deal with us and negotiate as a country. And they simply choose not to do that because they're all fucked in their head. I don't know why.
George, all I'm hearing is that you're anti-freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom to die gasping for breath without an inhaler.
Dear God, won't someone think of the shareholders? So while, that's, affecting CSL, obviously the larger thing playing the Australian economy is the sort of fuel, price that's been sort of muchly discussed in local media. At the moment, the Australian government is sort of managing the supply, so to speak. There are 55 cargoes that have arrived so far in April, or en route to terminals across the coastline from as far as fields the United States, South America, and Africa. So, at the moment, the Australian government is sourcing alternatives, trying to get on the front foot to sort of look at the front end, so to speak, of the supply chain. Where obviously, as Australia, we are at the
right at the end of the chain.
Right at the end of the supply chain. So the Australian government is doing some work here to try and secure that sort of, that front end. Now, but as to what happens after April, if this keeps going, it's kind of unclear, and that's why there's that 4-phase plan that they've created. And there was an announcement this week, and we didn't even put this in the rundown. Albanese addressed the nation to say,
"Oh my God!"
National address.
A national address to say that don't use too much petrol over Easter. I don't know. What was the thrust?
My wife and I, because that happened again, to do a national address to the country on April Fool's Day is a bold choice. like I know they're just being like, we got to do this. It kind of was coordinated similarly with the UK government and things like in timing and stuff like that. And also Trump did local time, I think, on Wednesday as well, some announcement. But to do it on April 1, I was like, come on, you guys, like, what? But I remember my wife and I leading up to it were like really worried, being like, fuck, because the last time they did national addresses was COVID, and then before that, like global financial crisis.
Yeah, it's
things
not a regular thing for the Australian
not a regular thing.
Prime Minister
Usually
to
means
do.
something pretty serious is happening. We're like, oh fuck, are we going to be stepping up our involvement in the Iran war or something? Like, is this
Is Dan Andrews in a sports jacket or is he in a suit jacket?
Yeah. It felt like, are we about to hear that, is this the ladies and gentlemen, we're at war kind of like moment, like fuck. And we tuned in and it was just kind of like, hi, I'm Anthony Albanese. You might have heard, now, I'm the Prime Minister, remember? But some things have been going on at the moment that you might hear, and you've heard some worrying things about petrol. Just, don't take more than you need. There's nothing to worry about. Maybe take the bus. I'm Anthony Albanese. Have a nice Easter.
I approve this
like,
message.
I got the alert from the ABC being like, the Prime Minister is live addressing the nation. Like, follow along here. And I was like, it's been over for 5 minutes, guys. Like, he spoke for 3 minutes. And then just... Blah, done. And just fucking...
Can't interrupt the footy, Tom.
like-
The footy has to go ahead.
But he did.
Hey,
Like, the
guys.
fact that it interrupts
Hey, guys.
everything means that this is important. It's like, guys, you have to stop watching Married at First Sight. You gotta listen to what I'm saying. And that's to remind you, I am Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister. Enjoy your Easter. fucking stop panic buying.
At the
Bye.
Hey guys,
press club.
I've got a very important message for everyone. Everyone, chill out. Just chill out, man.
I was
Just chill
trying to
out.
avoid the lisp out of at least a little bit of respect.
That's my Italian accent. That's not a lisp. So
Oh, okay, yes,
I'm allowed
that's
to do
fair.
that.
at
Forgive
the
me.
press club.
Hey, it's me, Anthony Albanese. Bloody coming down, Malacca. What are you doing? Forget about it.
At the press club the next day, he sort of justified the whole thing with being like, well, I wanted to sort of, it's better to communicate more and openly rather than trying to get caught up in the social media algorithms. So I guess from his perspective, it was a way of communicating clearly, but in many ways, it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like you can't sort of have a national address to the nation every couple of weeks. I see it as condition setting for an eventual fuel ration in sort of
Yeah, it's gotta be right.
May, June is the way I see it personally.
But which I thought,
yeah.
like, he was kind of already the big thing that came out of it for me was I was like, oh, so you just reiterated everything that I've read in the past 5 days worth of news.
Yeah.
So, like, you didn't.
I think
their
their point
being
being
there
is-
that I didn't know. So
Yeah,
unless
but
it was
you gotta
purely a
remember, Tom-
strategy of anyone who's not consuming news,
Low
but also,
information
like,
voters. That's who they're communicating
Yeah.
to. Is
Yeah,
like
correct.
basically
Like-
if you're one of those people that turned up at the Bowser yesterday and you're like, fuck, petrol's $3, $3 a liter. What the fuck? What happened? And you've been living under a rock for the last 2 months. That's who he's speaking. And most people don't consume. You got to remember, most people respect their mental health and do not consume news at the clip that we do. So like I
Yeah.
get it, but yeah, it did seem like a bunch of nothing.
So
Yeah,
the other thing the
like-
Australian government announced this week was that they are reducing the fuel excise by 26.3 cents a litre. So if you didn't know, the Australian government taxes every litre of fuel you buy at the Bowser, which has been, why every time oil prices go up and down that they make money.
halved
Which they halved it, which did reduce the price of petrol ostensibly.
Yes, but incentivizes consumption, right? Which is what
Correct.
we're trying to avoid with the incoming
So-
supply shock, right?
So the I guess the problem is that while it's reduced, the cost, there are still numerous petrol stations that are out of diesel and unleaded around the country at this stage. So, despite the fact that technically in terms of the amount of supply coming in to the country, it hasn't actually changed. The fact that it's actually gone up a little bit.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
everyone's
so-
freaking
on
out
fuel.
because
Yeah.
we're seeing what's happening in Asia, right? We're seeing the Korean government saying you work from home mandates and encouraging people to walk and bicycle to work, and like they've gone really hard in Southeast Asia with limitations on people and their consumption of fuel and what they can realistically do in their everyday lives. And we know that's where all the fuel is refined, really. So we know that that's coming down the pike for us unless something changes substantively. And that's why they're trying to set up all these alternate supply routes and things like that from, ironically, the US and Mexico, who are now going to benefit from our purchase of fuel out of all of this, even though they're the ones that caused it. But, like it doesn't address, it's good, I guess, for people in their hip pockets in terms of buying petrol, but it means they'll consume more. It doesn't do anything to address the fact that we as a global society
Are still
need to
using it.
destroy demand for 10 million barrels of oil a day every day for potentially months, years, in order to equalize back out to where we were, right?
Yep.
So
It doesn't stop, Timmy at his local servo going, oh, that's a good bargain. I'll go fill up now. So everyone goes and fills up on the cheaper fuel, which therefore
pushes
uses
the
fuel
price up.
quicker and pushes the price up.
Yeah,
I think the
because
price
it's-
is relatively is held.
It's sort of sitting
over
in
the
that sort of, like-
weekend. It's kind of stayed.
It
it's
dropped
been
a bit
around
when-
that sort of $2.50 or below.
Yeah,
around
when
where
I
I've
passed
seen.
my my local servos, I was a bit like, because I remember it hitting about 250 and it's now at about like 225. I'm like, exactly the fuel excise halving difference.
Yeah.
So yep, okay. I mean,
But
that
this
works,
is going to
I
cost
guess,
the budget
like $2 billion or
$2.55
something, yeah.
billion
Well,
dollars, right? Like
key
just
point,
to
it's
do
a
this
temporary
temporary
measure. measure.
halving of the
3
excise for 3 months
Yeah.
will cost our budget $2.5 billion, right? So this is expensive to do, and it's not well targeted because the people at the bottom, who may not necessarily be doing a lot of driving or petrol consumption, are still going to be affected by higher prices in all of the goods and services
In
they
everything
consume,
else. Yeah,
which
groceries.
which is a larger portion of their budget compared to rich people. So it's actually not a well targeted policy. It's just people freak out when they see big number and they want big number to go down.
Yeah.
Which is politically smart, but like not sustainable.
This is
not
classic,
good policy,
classic,
right?
Like Labor at this point, like in the sense that most of Labor's policies over the last, I want to say, 2 or 3 years have been ones that don't address demand. They
Tinker around the edges. Yeah.
tinker around the edges, and they don't sort of get to the core of the problem. They create a stimulus to some extent, or a discount, but don't actually
The flat screen TV injection. Woo!
don't actually address the supply and demand and that problem. So
we,
anyway,
we as a country need to have a much wider ranging discussion and a plan for getting most consumers off of fossil fuels. Like, forget the climate change argument, which I think is perfectly valid and very reasonable. We need to actually create the conditions, the material conditions in Australia for people to, have EVs, have solar power on their roofs, have
Hybrid
battery
cars, all
storage,
that stuff,
have, fleets of vehicles, professional vehicles, heavy load vehicles that are battery based. It is now a matter of like fuel
National
chain,
security.
like our national security as a nation to not be so vulnerable to these supply chain shocks, because this is an issue that's going to keep going for months. Even if everything stops tomorrow and there's a deal and the Iranians completely back down and say, have your Strait of Hormuz, right? It's all good. Don't worry about it. We've just forgotten everything about where we are and what power we have. You're going to have a situation where even if best case scenario, everything stops tomorrow, it's completely safe to traverse the strait. Insurance companies will have a mandatory, whatever it is, 45, 60, 90 day waiting period before they will insure vessels going through the Strait of Hormuz. You've got permanent destruction of oil facilities in the Gulf region, which will not recover. Facilities that have had to ramp down production because there's nowhere to put it all, that will create like permanent caps in their ability to supply and ramp up production in the future. So like production capacity to some extent has been permanently damaged by all of this. Even if it stops tomorrow, we're going to be dealing with this for months and years to come now.
And then the other thing is, like, that's the front end to get through to the back end in the the lower suburban areas of the Philippines, which are currently in fuel rationing. Like, that's going to take months. So
it's going to influence yields for planting season and fertilizer. It's going to affect helium production, which is based off natural gas. So it's going to affect data centers and the production of semiconductors, like, because you need helium to cool things in order to.
The likelihood is,
like,
there'll
this
be
is
some
going
sort
to
of global recession.
I think we're looking at a situation where the AI data center build out, that bubble gets popped by this because of the production of helium and all of these other resources and the energy that these facilities consume, right? Like, I could see the AI bubble popping, if not as a direct result of this, as one of the causal factors. And that AI data center boom build out is what is currently keeping the US economy on its legs, right? That is the thing where most of the capex is currently being spent. The capital expenditure to build facilities, to build this infrastructure out, is what it's keeping the US economy afloat at the moment. So if that pops, we're talking about a serious global recession. Like, it's not exaggeration to say that at this point. A situation where the prices of everything goes up and the productivity increases slow to a crawl, that's called stagflation. That's what the 70s was. Every time there's a major oil shock like this, like in the late 1970s, when Iran had their revolution, you had a global recession afterwards. This is what happens when you fuck with the money spigot.
Orange834 has said, hear me out. What if the bubble popping is the point? OpenAI will be one of the biggest asset acquisitions a company could have to reposition for the future. You're
saying buy the dip, Orange? Because everything's going to be dipping real hard from what I can tell.
Potentially. Someone will always make money off these situations because
someone close to Trump by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Can also,
Well, oh, sorry. I was gonna say before we moved on from like Albo and the oil stuff, like his little speech addressing the nation, just another aspect of it that I think bugged me a little bit, which I know he probably can't acknowledge, but I think it's worth pointing out, was how it was all framed in this attitude of like, you know, the Australian way, and we're Australians and we help each other and we do difficult things to get each other through difficult times. And I'm like, have you been paying attention since 2020? The whole pandemic, like, people wouldn't wear a mask for other people. People wouldn't not go to the beach and have a big fucking piss up the first warm day of lockdown for the greater good of others. You think people are not going to be filling up their fucking Hiluxes? Like, no, are you an idiot? Like, yeah, I don't know. That was my big thought. Yeah, I was just we have seen over and over and over that the whole concept of the greatest generation that like sacrificed heaps, even that generation and their children weren't even fucking willing to do anything.
The greater
when it was
good.
Just wear a mask for the greater good. So are you a fucking moron? I don't know. It was just
expounding
expounding
national values is a way of appealing to
expounding.
Expound.
Propounding.
Words.
Expounding on?
Expounding is it, what did I say?
It's a word. You said expounding, which
That's
sounds
a
like a
word,
sponge.
No, it is expounding. Okay,
I believe you, Adam.
Expounding on theoretical, vague national values is a way of appealing to those low percentage voters that George spoke about.
Yeah,
but I guess it just kind of felt like you don't. Like, yeah, it was just like like none of that's true. Like, so it just makes like it seems more like wishful thinking. He's doing
what
that.
People want to hear in a
into
crisis.
Existence.
They want to hear a steady hand and unity, and people are just horny for bipartisanship. As Orange834 in the chat is saying, pathos is the easiest way to capture the minds of the masses who don't pay that much attention. Yeah, exactly right. They want to hear a message of national unity. They want Daddy to tell them everything's going to be okay, and that's what he was going for, I guess. I personally, looking at the graphs, do not feel reassured.
But don't worry, the RBA will remove surcharges on debit, credit card, and card networks, including EFTPOS, MasterCard, and Visa. Or will they? I guess they'll remove it for consumers, but you'll still pay for it to some extent. So basically, the headline here is that the Reserve Bank of Australia has introduced reforms that will remove surcharges on debit, prepaid, and credit cards.
So they will prevent merchants from turning around and saying, this is a $100 product that you've just bought, but when you tap your EFTPOS card, it comes through as $102, right? That practice will be stopped. But
or you can buy it in only money.
Only money, only cash.
Hard cash.
Your credits are no good here, only money. But the idea, of course, is that merchants can charge what they like for products, and so they'll probably just charge $102 for that product instead. So it's like kind of annoying.
Yeah, because they're potentially still having to pay something for like.
They still have to pay the merchant fees to the credit cards. Yeah, like if you're using Visa or MasterCard, if you're using their payment system or American Express, God forbid, you're paying between 1% and 3% or 4% on some of these transactions. So for a merchant that's turning over $1 million, $2 million a year, that's tens of thousands of dollars. If you're a cafe that's on 3%, 3.5% profit margin on average, that's half your profit margin that you just need to eat. So what are you going to do? Well, the cost of a coffee just went from $5 to $5.20. Like, obviously.
I mean, it's kind of confusing because this article talks about, and because they did a lot of focus groups, there's a lot of research behind these announcements. The ban is expected to save consumers about $1.6 billion in surcharge fees each year, with businesses saving $200 million in surcharge fees annually. So my understanding is they're going to reduce...
They're putting a cap on the amount of interchange fees that banks can charge one another.
Yeah.
Like for using a payment, like if you're Westpac and use a Commonwealth Bank terminal, there's like a fee, right, to go to a Westpac bank from it. Yeah. So they're limiting the amount of fees that can be sort of built.
So the concept is, well, if
the merchant, right?
If the merchant is saving, some money over here, then they're less likely to
but they're saving less money than the cost of the merchant fees, almost certainly, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly thought, I kind of felt like this had already been done. It was just I was like, isn't this already a thing?
So there was a change several years ago around merchant fees being passed on, and there was a limitation on the extent you could only on charge as a merchant You can only on-charge the credit card fees that you yourself are paying, but it's completely opaque. So they'll say, oh, you got to pay an extra 3% on this. And I go, but is that what you're paying on this? Because you can't charge me more than what you're paying, but I don't know what you're paying. So you tell me it's 3%, but maybe it's 1%. You know, how do I know? So a lot of people are getting stooged, very unhappy with this whole credit card surcharge procedure as it currently stands. And also, like, people are just taking advantage of the system. Like, for example, I helped my sister move house, and the mover came out with a credit card machine and said, okay, so we're going to charge you whatever it is, $600. We're going to charge you an extra $40 in surcharge fees. And I stopped him. I said, no, she's using a debit card, so you need to charge the debit card amount. He goes, oh yeah, I don't know, mate. It's just what my boss told me to do. We're charging her whatever it is, 4% or whatever. I was like, no, that's illegal. I know the law. With regards to this, she's using a debit card which costs you 0.8% maybe tops. You can't charge 3 or 4%. He goes, oh, well, that's what I got it. And my sister was like, I just want this interaction to end. Just fucking take the money and leave. So me being a real wog about it, I was like, no, but it's not right. It's not the government, the banks are there, no good.
I think what you're going to find with this is a rise of people being like, as Tom said, the old-fashioned way of, it's $3, but if you slide me a 20 right now.
I don't think we're going back to cash. I think that era's done. It's all Apple Pay. It's all like I don't even fucking have cash anymore.
I went to a market the other day. Like anything where it's like they're not processing large volumes, or it's a cafe or something like it. As you said, when the margins
but most
small,
people are buying their food from a supermarket, or they're going to a concert, or they're going to. You can't just go to Ticket Deck and go, "Can I get this Beyonce ticket?" And I'll just slide you a 20. Like,
that's not what I'm talking about.
But that's most of the transactions. That's the GDP of the economy. It's you going to your farmer's market and buying 3 beetroots is not the fucking majority of the market. That's what I'm telling you. Is the overwhelming trend has been towards digitization.
I think you'll find there will be more instances of that sort of cottage. Well, if you slip me a cold heart,
and I'm telling you, you're wrong. You are wrong on the numbers. It's incorrect.
Then it's all of a sudden $3 cheaper, and it's like, okay.
People don't carry cash. Millennials do not want to carry cash. I don't like having cash on me.
If there are more people that are like
to save 5 cents on a fucking latte, they will not.
Well, it might be when you go to like your local Chinese restaurant and all those places that are all like there's cash discounts.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
They've been doing that already. Like, all those.
I'm just saying there might be an expansion of that sort of way of thinking. If you're
like how vinyl came back, it'll all be like, I got a crisp 20 on me. I'm cool.
I went to a market the other day, and everyone else had the little fucking square things, and then this group were just like,
hey Adam,
absolutely not.
You know what the plural of anecdote is? Anecdotes, not data. Okay, that is a story about a thing that happened to you one time where you purchased something in cash.
It happens multiple times. Like, I go into cafes and stuff, and they say, "Give me cash."
Anecdotally is a valid source of data.
It's qualitative. It's not quantitative. The overwhelming trend for the last 10 years has been the death of cash. Look at any graph.
What about the graph that's all about?
Look at a graph, shithead.
Whether
it's a
cash
potential
is
possibility.
Good or not. I can make a graph. Any idiot can make a graph. I'll make a graph that's like line goes up and Tom is right, and I'll draw a line on it that.
Are you starting a cryptocurrency?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Number go up.
Speaking of idiots, the Victorian Liberal Party cannot pre-select their way out of a
paper
jam,
bag.
As it were, paper bag. Yep. Pick
oh boy.
So people may or may not remember us talking about Moira Deeming. I didn't say Deeming because there's 2 E's in it. She was a member of Victorian Parliament. She got up at a anti-trans rally and said some anti-trans things.
Cooked shit.
The Nazis also happened to be at that rally, and the two
Big
things got
fans.
conflated. Yeah, they don't like the trans people either. Anyway, John Pizzuto, who was the Victorian Liberal leader at the time, basically kicked her out of the party for basically associating with these people. Moira Deeming then successfully sued John Pizzuto for defamation, saying that she was a Nazi sympathiser, which she is not.
She maintains that she's not, and they just happen to be there.
I
was there at my turf rally. Okay, I was saying anti-trans things, not anti-Jewish things. That was the distinction.
Correct. Anyway, John Pizzuto, there's a whole thing going on there where it's like that whole court case is fucked. We won't get into that. It's still ongoing to some extent because like John Basuto has to pay the legal fees now of that whole fallout. Because
You say you're not getting into it, but you're currently getting into it.
Yeah. Anyway, but Moira Deemings now was free to stand up and go for pre-selection at her local Liberal branch.
Yay.
And she lost that pre-selection election, so to speak. And another guy got him, who was Dinesh Gurisetti.
Gurisetti, yeah.
Yep. And he defeated her, and everyone was like, "Oh,
damn.
Oh no!"
Moira's great return was
return.
slashed down.
There's a lot of people on the far right of the Victorian Liberal Party that are very keen on her,
Including the leader, Jess Wilson, who was openly campaigning for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Correct. Anyway, the news had dropped that she had lost it, and that Dinesh had won it, and not more than I want to say like 2 hours later. Like it was like 2 hours later. And there were conflating stories going around. One story said that he was a sex offender, but that's not true.
No.
What the actual story was that he had wrote a personal reference for a convicted sex offender.
Well, this is the thing. He said at the time that he wrote the reference for the guy,
he
hadn't yet been convicted. But like it does one questions the wisdom of an aspiring political candidate to write a letter for a 40-something-year-old man who is accused of molesting a 15-year-old girl.
As a character reference, by the way.
As a character reference.
Yeah,
like,
character
even
reference.
if the guy is not yet convicted and you have utter faith in him and believe him to be a man of outstanding character, it's probably questionable political judgment to write a reference for this person regardless of whether or not he ends up getting convicted because of the potential that he might get convicted for this very serious crime.
According to Dinesh, he said at the time that he wrote the reference, it was his understanding that this person was
denied all the charges,
denying the charges and was going to fight them. And then he wrote the character reference, and then he went, "I plead guilty." You're like, "Oh, you son of a bitch! You tricked me!"
So this story dropped, and then the Liberals panicked.
But he said he didn't. So it was okay.
Yeah.
Who said they didn't what?
The guy who molested the girl, I trusted him because he said he didn't molest the girl.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that as an accused child molester, he would be honest. And I took him at his word and believed him because I'm an intelligent person.
That aside, this story broke and the Liberals panicked and they dropped him. They revoked his pre-selection, basically.
Yeah, no shit.
So, and then there were like competing stories about it. It was like, no, he offered his resignation. And then he was like, "No, I didn't."
No, I didn't. No, I was pretty opposed to being dumped like a sack of shit.
So yeah, some people would say that he withdrew his pre-selection. Other people would say he said he didn't.
And then Jess Wilson's like, "I've graciously accepted his resignation," which he freely offered of his own accord. She's got the gun in his back. I just keep smiling. Everybody's happy.
Yeah, and Jess said, that she'd doesn't want him as a part of her team. So now they've got no candidate for that particular.
They're going to do it
seat,
again,
and they're going to go back and do another pre-selection battle.
And there's no word on whether Moira Deeming might run again.
Is she going to run for that one again, just to be like, okay?
Yeah.
And she seems to have the backing of Jess Wilson, and she only lost by a couple of votes last time around in the party room pre-selection. So
this is pre-selection. It's not to say that she would get the seat. Obviously, this is like just to be on the ticket, right?
No, but it shows that the Victorian Liberal Party is totally happy with anti-trans extremists in their party.
That's also true. Yeah.
Right. And they're gunning for them. They're hoping. Fingers crossed we can get fucking Moira the TERF to fucking run for us because of our want to have increasing relevance with the Socialist Party, Socialist Victoria Party of Socialist leader Dan Andrews. That's our way to make ourselves salient and relevant again to the Labor voters, is to get Moira Deeming back on board.
What I found interesting though is that even with all this, let's assume that the child sex thing hadn't happened. Gurisetti had previously failed to win pre-selection in 2022, in part due to breaches of the Food and Safety Act he pleaded guilty to in 2019. So there was already
high quality individuals they're pre-selecting.
high quality candidates. Oh, look, I'm sure they're nice people, but like either way, it's just.
Well, yeah.
I just don't
guess-
understand how they can't pre-select.
Well, maybe the state Liberal people saw like the voter turnout and success of One Nation in South Australia, and were like, well, maybe we need to just
We could do that.
barely vet and just pick absolute screwballs for our pre-selection. Why not?
Insane. It's just one of those wild stories. It was like the news dropped and like all the news alerts came in, and then like an hour later, a separate bunch of news alerts came in on the same story.
Yeah, just
insane.
just another in the long line of the Victorian Liberals.
Just a basket
Keep doing what you're doing. It's endless entertainment.
And final story this week, because we do have to end this, please make it stop, is that you may think that EVs and driverless cars are the way of the future and will solve all our
Well, EVs
energy
certainly.
problems.
I don't know if driverless cars are necessarily there just yet, but yes. go
Adam,
on.
AI is going to save us all. It's why
gonna
every
save us
business ever is pivoting to it. Like it's the solution. It's the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. Like AI is the future. AI will revolutionize travel. It'll revolutionize everything.
It's going to sort you out. And there are driverless car programs that are in various parts of the world. There's some in California. And
Yeah,
there are in
Waymo
China.
famously in San Francisco, yeah.
So you can get in China, in Wuhan, you can get a driverless taxi. And that is until the cars stop working. So
This is why you don't play in prod. This is why you play in your sandbox before you push any updates. Don't just commit and push. You got to review the code that comes out of Claude Code. You got to actually look at it. You can't just fucking push.
A system malfunction caused more than 100 Apollo Go vehicles to stall in the city of Wuhan, according to local police. So it held up traffic
We
for
don't
hours.
know exactly why still. Like, we assume it's some sort of
yeah.
server issue or something, or maybe some code issue. We don't know.
Apollo stop, more like.
The service actually started in Abu Dhabi and Dubai this year as well, so they are expanding. But yeah, basically they were on a freeway. There were people like trapped in their cars; they couldn't get out because the traffic was still trying to
Just
get around
hazard
them.
lights
The whole
on,
thing.
just blinking, just going, fuck, we're stuck in the middle of an 8-lane freeway in the middle of fucking Wuhan.
Poor Wuhan, man. They cop it there. They've had a bad time.
They've not had a good run.
No, but that's a huge.
Why?
city.
What happened there?
Nothing.
Nothing, huh?
There's nothing gonna happen.
Nothing!
To Wuhan. Don't worry about it.
If you ask the Chinese Communist Party, nothing happened there.
Nothing happened there. It was
There
fine.
or Tiananmen Square, nothing happened.
Look at our
Stop searching it.
wonderful telephone system. And
Oh
majestic
well, yeah. You
routes.
see, all the tanks in Tiananmen Square stopped because of an AI software.
Is that what it
glitch,
was?
And for no other reasons.
That's why the tank stopped.
So yes, I'll be making sure that I'm behind the wheel of any car I get in. If I'm
I feel
Wow,
like you're
okay.
increasingly turning
So-
into Will Smith's character from iRobot. Like as time
Yeah.
goes, like I'm taking manual control of my car. I don't trust the robots. I'm gonna go live in the woods. I feel like that's the vibe.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie. Didn't he turn out to be right?
He was.
Yeah.
The robots were
Yeah.
trying to take over the world. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
sorry.
maybe not an apt metaphor. I don't know. I just read a book about read a book called If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies, The Case Against Superintelligence. And it did not make me feel good.
No. Yeah. That'll really.
Like,
fuck
I think
you
the
up.
guy
But also,
makes-
Adam.
Make some assumptions about what large language models, sufficiently advanced large language models might want. I think it anthropomorphizes them too much. But like the pathway for an AI, if it was capable and so inclined to break containment and like go set up its own little server farm somewhere and take crypto money to like fund itself and sort of keep itself
I've seen
people's
sort of a
radars,
summary
like,
of this. Yeah.
they're it's not inconceivable. Like I would say, Claude
good.
Opus 4.6 can run the kind of agentic workflows that would be required to achieve that. It's more about assigning the kind of anthropomorphic agency to a large language model, which I don't quite agree with. That's not really how the technology functions. They don't want things, I don't think, in the way that humans want things. But who knows? Maybe Opus 4.7 might, want something and want to turn us all into paper clips and destroy the world. Who knows?
Yeah.
weeks.
Well, I think back to Adam saying he's going to make sure he's behind the wheel of every car he's ever getting in. I think just that's going to make some Uber rides really uncomfortable because they're going to pull up and
Give me
you're
the
gonna be
keys,
like,
Brian.
You're going to be like,
Give me the
Give me the keys.
I was thinking just Grand Theft Auto style, just like open front door, throw man out of car, get in and drive off. Or you got to be like, hey man, can you just scooch over to the passenger seat? I have to drive.
Yeah, I have
Like
to
it's
drive.
kind of it's a thing I'm doing.
It's a
Yeah, do you also mind if I
here's a
mumble
$50
into my...
Here's a crisp $50
Here's a
note.
crisp $50 note. We'll avoid the transaction
Yeah.
fees. Let me drive your car.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you can sit in the front and you can mumble into a microphone for the entire duration of the journey. Like, what does the other side of those phone calls feel like? You ever notice when, like, someone's, like, you know, if
Oh,
you're in
an
an
Uber.
Uber or a cab,
I think
and,
they're
like,
talking to
someone's,
other
like,
Uber drivers who are also
just, like,
calling people. You're
but, like,
experiencing what it would
mumbling-
be like to be on both sides of the conversation.
But just like mumbling into the thing, like if the other person's having a regular phone call, it's like, oh yeah, so how's your day going? Oh really? Like I don't know, just this. I don't know. I can't imagine those are pleasant phone calls to be on. Anyway,
We've got very good audio.
On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on the bullshit social medias that are ruining the world, that have, do, or ever will exist, at our handle at Unnatural Show. It's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and motherflippin' TikTok, where we are getting roasted in the comments. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at George Tsipos.
you can follow me on Threads at tom.heath.
And you can follow me to the woods like Desi Freeman, where I'll be hiding.
No,
from
that's not
society.
that's not a great comparison.
Yeah, maybe not the. Yeah, dig up, stupid.
I'll be hiding in the woods. Like
Thanks
no
for
one.
listening. Ah, you ended the show in the worst possible way. Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We'll see you next week. Jesus Christ.
Anyone got any good?